The Great Hall stretched farther than any human building ever built. Captain Lee Daho stood at the center, looking up at thousands of alien faces staring down at him. Some had multiple eyes, others had no eyes at all. Some breathed through gills, others through tubes in their necks. The air smelled of chemicals and strange perfumes from 100 different worlds. This was the Galactic Senate, and today they would decide if humanity lived or died. Daho wore his best military uniform, the blue one with gold buttons that his mother had been so proud of. Dr. Kim Nari stood beside him, her hand shaking slightly as she held their final appeal documents. She was the smartest person Daho knew, but even she looked small in this massive chamber. "The session begins," announced High Chancellor Vorthak. The creature looked like a giant mantis made of silver metal. Its voice echoed through speakers that translated the words into every language in the galaxy. "Today we vote on Resolution 847 Prime. The containment and neutralization of species designation human, from planet Earth, solar system Sol." Daho felt his heart pound. Containment and neutralization. Such clean words for genocide. "Captain Lee Daho of Earth, you may speak," the Chancellor said. Daho stepped forward. His voice carried across the chamber through the same translation system. "Honored delegates, I come before you not as a conqueror, but as a neighbor. Humanity seeks only to find its place among the stars. We have made mistakes, yes. We expanded quickly. We built weapons when we felt threatened. But these are the actions of a young species learning to survive." A delegate from the hegemony species stood up. It looked like a walking tree with too many arms. "The humans develop reality manipulation technology. They can change the laws of physics themselves. This threatens the stability of the entire galaxy. We developed that technology to help our people," Daho replied. "To heal diseases, to create clean energy, to explore space safely. We never used it as a weapon." "Yet," hissed a snake-like delegate from the far side of the chamber. Dr. Kim Nari stepped forward. "May I present evidence of humanity's peaceful intentions?" She activated a holographic display showing human cities, farms, schools, and hospitals. "Look at what we build. We create life, not destroy it. We teach our children to value peace." The snake delegate laughed, a sound like steam escaping from a pipe. "Peace? Your species has been at war with itself for thousands of years. You only stopped fighting each other when you found us to fight instead." "That's not true," Daho said, but he knew how it sounded. Humans had fought many wars. They still sometimes disagreed strongly about things. But they had learned to work together when it mattered. A new voice spoke from the upper levels. It belonged to a creature that looked like a floating jellyfish made of light. The humans spread too fast. In 50 years, they went from one planet to 30 colonies. No species has ever expanded so quickly. "Because we had to," Daho said. "Earth was dying from pollution and overpopulation. We needed new homes for our people. We didn't take any worlds that belonged to others. We terraformed dead planets and built space stations. With technology you developed in decades that took us centuries to create," another delegate said. This one looked like a blue crystal that pulsed with inner light. "This proves humans are dangerous. They learn too fast. They change too quickly." Dr. Kim Nari spoke again. "Is learning a crime? Is adapting to challenges wrong? We thought the galaxy would welcome species that could contribute new ideas and solutions." The Chancellor raised one of its metal arms. "The evidence has been presented. The charges are clear. Humanity has violated the peaceful coexistence accords through aggressive expansion. They have developed prohibited technologies that could destabilize galactic civilization. They represent a clear and present danger to the cosmic order." Daho felt desperation rising in his chest. "Please, just give us a chance. Set limits on our expansion if you must. Monitor our technology development. We'll accept restrictions, regulations, anything except extinction." "The vote will now commence," the Chancellor announced. One by one, the delegates cast their votes. Each vote appeared as a colored light on the massive display board that filled one wall of the chamber. Red meant death. Green meant life. Yellow meant undecided. The board filled quickly. Red light after red light appeared. Daho watched species that had traded with humans, that had signed peace treaties with Earth, that had seemed friendly just months ago. All of them voted red. The hegemony voted red. The Dominion voted red. The Crystal Collective voted red. Even the peaceful garden worlds who had seemed to like human poetry and music voted red. A few yellow lights appeared. 24 in total, but no green. Not a single green light on the entire board. The vote is concluded, the Chancellor announced. 823 votes for containment and neutralization. 24 abstentions. 0 votes against. Resolution 847 Prime passes with overwhelming majority. Deho felt the floor seem to shift under his feet. It was over. Humanity had been sentenced to death by the galaxy itself. Implementation begins immediately, the Chancellor continued. The Sol system will be quarantined. All human vessels outside the quarantine zone will be captured or destroyed. Human colonies beyond Sol will be relocated. Dr. Kim Nari grabbed Deho's arm. Her face was pale. They planned this, she whispered. Look at the voting pattern. Too organized. Too quick. They decided this before we even arrived. Deho looked around the chamber again. Many of the delegates were already leaving, as if the destruction of an entire species was just another day's work. But he noticed something else. Some of the delegates who had voted red looked unhappy about it. They kept glancing at the hegemony and dominion sections as if they were afraid. This is not about human technology, Deho realized aloud. This is about control. They're not afraid of what we are. They're afraid of what we represent. What do you mean? Dr. Kim Nari asked. Freedom, Deho said. We proved that a species can advance quickly without permission from the established powers. We showed that new ideas and rapid progress are possible. That threatens their control over the galaxy. As they were escorted from the chamber by security guards that looked like walking suits of armor, Deho saw something that gave him hope. Several of the younger delegates from species that had only recently joined the Senate were talking together in small groups. They looked concerned, even angry. The vote had passed, but it had also revealed something important. The galactic order was not as solid as it appeared. There were cracks in the foundation. Outside the Senate building, as they walked toward their ship under heavy guard, Dr. Kim Nari said quietly, What do we do now? Deho looked up at the alien sky, filled with strange stars and 3 different moons. We go home, he said. We tell our people what happened here. And then we prepare. Prepare for what? To prove them wrong, Deho said. They think containing us will solve their problem. They have no idea what humans can do when their backs are against the wall. As their ship lifted off from Nexus Prime, heading back toward Earth and an uncertain future, Deho felt something he hadn't expected. Not despair, but determination. Humanity had been underestimated before. It had never ended well for those doing the underestimating. The galaxy had made its choice. Now humanity would make theirs. Admiral Park Jinwoo stared at the tactical display showing the edge of the solar system. 6 months had passed since the vote, and the alien blockade was now complete. Hundreds of massive ships formed a perfect sphere around the sun and all its planets. Each ship was the size of a city, bristling with weapons that could crack planets in half. Status report, Park said to his bridge crew aboard the Earth Defense Force flagship. The gravity well generators are operating at full power, reported Commander Yu Tai-hyun. Nothing can enter or leave faster than light travel within the entire system. We're completely cut off, Park nodded grimly. The aliens hadn't just trapped humanity in their home system. They had made it impossible for any human ship to travel to other stars. It was like being locked in a prison the size of their entire solar system. What about our colonies outside the system? Park asked. Gone, Yu replied quietly. The last transmission from New Sol came 3 days ago. They said alien ships were landing troops. Then nothing. Park closed his eyes for a moment. Millions of humans had lived on colonies around other stars. Now they were either dead or imprisoned somewhere far from home. The thought made his stomach hurt, but he couldn't afford to grieve. Not yet, sir. Incoming transmission from Mars Defense Command, called out Lieutenant Song Yejin from the communication station. Put it on screen. The image of General Oh Seung-ho appeared on the main display. His face was dirty and tired, but his eyes were still sharp. Behind him, Park could see the red sky of Mars through a window. Admiral, we have a problem, Oh said. The alien probes are getting more aggressive. They're not just watching us anymore. They're scanning everything we build, every weapon we test, every technology we develop. Any ideas why? Park asked. Chief Engineer Choi Yuna has a theory. Show him, Yuna. The screen split to show a young woman with short black hair and grease-stained overalls. She held up a piece of alien technology, a smooth metal cube that glowed with soft blue light. We captured this from one of their scout probes, Choi said. I've been taking it apart for weeks. Look at this. She opened the cube to reveal complex circuits inside. This isn't just a scanner. It's a copier. It records everything it sees and makes blueprints. Park felt a chill run down his spine. They're stealing our technology. Exactly, Choi said. Every new weapon we build, every improvement we make to our ships, every innovation we create to survive this siege, they're copying all of it. They're not just keeping us trapped. They're learning from us, but why? Asked Commander Yu. They already have superior technology. Dr. Kang Minho appeared on another part of the screen. He was a thin man with thick glasses who looked like he hadn't slept in days. Because our technology is different, he said. Alien technology is based on slow, careful development over thousands of years. Human technology is based on rapid innovation and creative problem-solving. We find solutions they never thought of. Park studied the faces on his screen. These were some of the smartest people humanity had ever produced, and they were all telling him the same thing. The aliens weren't just afraid of humans. They wanted to steal what made humans special. What's our current defensive status? Park asked. General O answered. We've turned Mars into a fortress. The asteroid belt is now a minefield. Europa has underground cities that could survive a nuclear war. And Dr. Kang has been working on something special on Titan. Dr. Kang adjusted his glasses nervously. It's not ready yet, but I think I've found a way to punch a hole through their blockade. The reality manipulation technology they're so afraid of, I've been developing it in secret. Is that wise? Park asked. That technology is what got us into this mess. With respect, Admiral, Dr. Kang said, that technology might be the only thing that gets us out of it. Before Park could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Lieutenant Song's voice cut through the noise. Admiral, we have incoming contacts. 50 alien ships are breaking formation and heading directly for Earth. Park looked at the tactical display. The alien ships were moving fast, their weapons charging. Are they attacking? I don't think so, Commander Yu said, studying his instruments. Their approach vector is wrong for an attack. They're coming in too slowly and they're not targeting our defense platforms. Then what are they doing? Park asked. The answer came from Chief Engineer Choi on Mars. They're testing us, she said. They want to see how we fight. What tactics we use, what weapons we deploy. They're not trying to destroy us yet. They're trying to learn how to destroy us later. Park felt anger building in his chest. The aliens were treating humanity like laboratory animals. They were studying human defensive capabilities the same way humans might study insects. All ships prepare for engagement, Park ordered. But remember, they're watching everything we do. Don't show them all our tricks at once. The battle that followed was unlike anything in human history. 50 alien ships attacked Earth's defenses while thousands more watched from the edge of the system. Human ships darted between the massive alien vessels like mosquitoes attacking elephants. But these mosquitoes had nuclear stingers. Park watched from his command ship as human fighters used tactics no alien had ever seen. They hid behind asteroids, used the gravity of planets to slingshot at impossible speeds, and coordinated attacks with timing that seemed almost telepathic. Look at that, Commander Yu said with admiration. Squadron 7 is using the moon's shadow to mask their approach. The alien sensors can't track them through the electromagnetic interference. On the main screen, Park watched human ships emerge from behind the moon like ghosts, striking at alien vessels before disappearing back into the lunar shadow. It was brilliant, creative, and completely unexpected. But the aliens were learning. Park could see them adapting their formations, adjusting their sensors, modifying their tactics in real time. By the end of the battle, they were much harder to surprise. We won, Lieutenant Song reported as the alien ships retreated. 12 enemy vessels destroyed, minimal human casualties. We won this battle, Park corrected. But they learned more about us than we learned about them. Next time will be harder. As the human fleet regrouped, Park received another transmission from Dr. Kang on Titan. The scientist looked excited but also terrified. Admiral, I need to show you something, Kang said. My experiments with quantum tunneling have produced an unexpected result. I think I can create a breach in their blockade, but there's a problem. What kind of problem? Park asked. The energy required would be enormous, and the aliens would definitely notice. It would tell them exactly how advanced our reality manipulation technology really is. Park considered this. Using such technology might save humanity, but it would also prove to the aliens that their fears were justified. It could make them even more determined to destroy human civilization. How long before you can have it ready? Park asked. 6 months, maybe less, Kang replied. Keep working on it, Park decided. But don't test it yet. We need to understand more about what we're facing first. As the communication ended, Commander Yu approached Park's chair. Sir, what's our long-term strategy? We can't stay trapped in this system forever. Park looked at the tactical display showing the alien blockade. Hundreds of massive ships, weapons that could destroy planets, technology thousands of years more advanced than anything humans possessed. But humans had something the aliens didn't understand. Our strategy is to be human, Park said. We adapt. We innovate. We find solutions to impossible problems. The aliens think they have us trapped, but they don't understand what happens when you corner a species that refuses to give up. Outside the command ship's windows, Park could see Earth in the distance, blue and beautiful and defiant. Humanity's homeworld was surrounded by enemies, cut off from the galaxy, facing extinction. But humans were still human. They were still learning, still growing, still finding new ways to survive. The aliens had made a mistake. They had given humanity time to prepare and motivation to exceed every limitation they had ever accepted. The siege had begun, but so had humanity's transformation. Commander Yu Taehyun floated in the darkness between Neptune and Pluto, his stealth ship invisible to every sensor the aliens possessed. 2 years had passed since the siege began, and humanity had changed in ways no one expected. Ghost Leader, this is Ghost 3, whispered Lieutenant Kim Doyen through the comm system. I have visual on the target. Yu looked through his ship's scope at the massive alien supply vessel drifting through space like a metal mountain. It was delivering weapons and equipment to the blockade ships. Taking it out would hurt the alien fleet and give humanity valuable intelligence. Remember the plan, Yu said to his squadron. We go in fast, grab what we can, and disappear before they know we were there. The Ghost Fleet had become humanity's secret weapon. These ships used quantum uncertainty technology that Dr. Kang had developed. They existed in a state between real and unreal, making them impossible for alien sensors to detect. The aliens had advanced technology, but they thought in straight lines. Humans thought in quantum possibilities. Ghost Leader, beginning approach, reported Ghost 3. Yu watched his pilots move like shadows through space. 2 years of constant pressure had changed humanity in remarkable ways. The humans flying these ships were faster, smarter, and more coordinated than any humans in history. Dr. Song Hee-jin called them enhanced humans, but everyone just called them stellars. The attack went perfectly. Ghost Squadron slipped through the alien ship's defenses, downloaded massive amounts of data, and stole several key components before vanishing back into the darkness of space. The aliens never even knew they had been robbed. Excellent work, Yu told his pilots as they regrouped at a hidden base on one of Pluto's moons. Intel team will analyze what we found. Everyone else gets some rest. As his pilots landed their ships in the underground hangar, Yu marveled at what humanity had built. The base was carved deep into the moon's ice, completely hidden from alien detection. It had workshops, living quarters, and laboratories where the brightest human minds worked on technologies that would have seemed like magic just a few years ago. Dr. Song Hee-jin met Yu at the airlock. She looked different than she had before the siege. Her eyes were brighter, her movements more precise, her mind clearly working faster than normal humans. The quarantine field surrounding the solar system was changing everyone inside it. How did the mission go? She asked. Perfect, Yu replied. Your enhanced pilots are incredible. They move like they're connected to each other telepathically. Dr. Song smiled. They almost are. The exposure to the quarantine field has been accelerating human evolution. Brain development, physical coordination, even immune system improvements. We're becoming something new. She led him through corridors filled with humans working on projects that seemed impossible. In one lab, engineers were building machines that could manipulate matter at the atomic level. In another, scientists were developing weapons that fired compressed space-time instead of bullets. The aliens tried to contain us, Dr. Song said. But containment is just another form of pressure. And humans have always evolved fastest under pressure. They reached the main command center, where General Oh Seung-ho was studying reports from across the solar system. His face was harder than it had been 2 years ago, marked by constant warfare, but his eyes burned with determination. Commander Yu, Oh said without looking up. Your raid was a success. We now have complete specifications for their supply network. What's our next target? Hugh asked. Everything, O replied, finally looking up with a grim smile. We're going to hit them everywhere at once. Supply depots, communication relays, patrol ships, maintenance facilities. If it supports their blockade, we destroy it. On the main screen, a map of the solar system showed hundreds of red dots representing alien positions. But it also showed blue dots scattered throughout the system. Hidden human bases, mobile strike teams, and secret weapon facilities. How many bases do we have now? Hugh asked. 57 confirmed, probably more that I don't know about, O said. Every asteroid, every moon, every piece of space junk big enough to hide a few people. Humanity has spread through this system like a virus, and we're learning to use every resource available. Dr. Song activated another display showing the latest intelligence reports. The aliens are getting frustrated. Their original plan was to slowly weaken us over several years, then move in to finish us off. But we're not getting weaker. We're getting stronger. They're also making mistakes, added O. Yesterday, they deployed biological weapons designed to target human physiology, but our enhanced humans are resistant to diseases that would have killed normal humans. The weapons didn't work. You studied the tactical situation. What about outside the system? Any word from our people on the alien colonies? O's expression darkened. That's where we have some interesting news. Show him, Dr. Song. Dr. Song pulled up a communication log. We received a coded transmission from General Park Min-soo. He's leading a resistance movement on Kepler 442b, where they relocated our colonists. They're alive? You asked, surprised. Not just alive, Dr. Song said. They're fighting back. And they're not alone. Apparently, several other species are questioning the Senate's decision about humanity. Some of them are secretly helping our people. On the screen appeared an image of humans and aliens working together to build what looked like a hidden base. The aliens were species you didn't recognize. They must have been minor powers in the galaxy. Ones without much influence in the Senate. It seems, O said, that not everyone in the galaxy was happy about the vote to contain us. Some species see the Senate's treatment of humanity as a warning about what could happen to them if they step out of line. This was unexpected good news, but you knew it also meant the situation was more complex than anyone had realized. So this isn't just about humanity anymore? It never was, Dr. Song said. The Senate vote wasn't really about our technology or our expansion rate. It was about control. The major powers want to make sure no species can challenge their authority. We were just the first to get strong enough to worry them. An alarm chimed softly, and Lieutenant Kim Doyen's voice came over the comm system. Command, we have incoming transmission from Dr. Kang on Titan. He says it's urgent. The screen switched to show Dr. Kang's laboratory on Saturn's largest moon. Behind him, you could see machines that hurt to look at directly, as if they existed in too many dimensions at once. General, Commander, Doctor, Kang said, his voice tight with excitement and fear. I've had a breakthrough with the quantum tunneling project. I can punch a hole through their blockade now. But there's something else. What? O asked. I've been analyzing the quarantine field they're using to trap us, Kang continued. It's not just preventing faster-than-light travel. It's doing something to space-time itself within the system. That's why our people are evolving so quickly. The field is accelerating causality itself. Dr. Song leaned forward. What does that mean? It means time moves faster inside the quarantine than outside, Kang explained. For every year that passes out there, nearly 2 years pass in here. They've been studying us for 2 years, but we've had almost 4 years to develop countermeasures. You felt a chill run down his spine. They're not just containing us. They're aging us to death. That was probably the plan, Kang agreed. But it's backfiring. Humans develop technology and adapt to challenges faster than any known species. By accelerating time for us, they've given us even more advantage. General O stood up, his face grim but determined. How long before you can breach their blockade? I can do it now, Kang said. But once I do, they'll know exactly what our technology can accomplish. There's no hiding it anymore. Then we don't hide, O decided. We show them exactly what happens when you try to cage humanity. Commander Yu, prepare the Ghost Fleet for maximum operations, Dr. Song. Get me a full report on our enhanced human capabilities. Dr. Kang, be ready to open that breach on my command. As the transmission ended, you looked around the command center at the humans working with impossible efficiency and coordination. 2 years of siege had transformed humanity into something the aliens had never encountered before. "What's the plan, General?" Yu asked. O smiled. And for the first time in months it was a genuine smile instead of a grim one. "The plan is to remind the galaxy why you don't pick a fight with a species that refuses to stay down." Outside the hidden base, the alien blockade continued its endless patrol, unaware that humanity was preparing to do something that would change the entire galaxy. The underground war was about to become something much larger. President Im Soo-hyun stood in the war room deep beneath Seoul, watching displays that showed the impossible. 3 years into the siege, humanity was not just surviving, they were winning. "Report," she said to the assembled military leaders. Admiral Baek Ji-won, commander of the new human stellar navy, gestured to the tactical display. She was one of the enhanced humans, her eyes glowing faintly with the neural improvements that let her interface directly with her ships. "Ma'am, Operation Ghost Storm was a complete success. We've destroyed 70% of their supply network." The display showed the solar system's edge, where the alien blockade had once seemed impenetrable. Now it was full of holes, dark spaces where supply ships had been vaporized, communication relays had been shattered, and patrol routes had been abandoned. "How?" President Im asked. She had been leading Earth's government since the siege began, and she still found it hard to believe what humanity had accomplished. Dr. Ryu Donghyun stepped forward. He looked tired but excited, his white coat stained with chemicals from his laboratory work. "Project Phoenix is operational, Madam President. We can now manipulate reality on a scale the aliens never imagined." On the screen, a recording played of humanity's latest test. A massive alien battle fleet approached a small human outpost. Then space itself seemed to fold and the alien ships simply stopped existing. Their matter scattered into a new asteroid field, rearranged according to human will rather than alien intention. "The aliens tried to fear our reality manipulation technology," Dr. Ryu continued. "They had no idea how right they were to be afraid." President Im studied the faces around her. These were no longer quite the same humans who had faced the Senate 3 years ago. The enhanced humans, the Stellars, moved with perfect coordination, thought faster than normal humans, and could interface with technology in ways that seemed almost magical. "What are our casualties?" she asked. "Minimal," reported General Oh Sung-ho, appearing on screen from his command post on Mars. The Stellars pilot ships that respond to thought rather than controls. Their reaction times and strategic thinking surpass even the most advanced alien AI systems. Admiral Baek nodded. "Yesterday, I personally led a squadron against a Dreadnought-class alien vessel. My pilots and I were mentally linked through our ship's quantum interfaces. We attacked from 17 different angles simultaneously, coordinating maneuvers that would be impossible for baseline humans." President Im had seen the recordings, human ships moving like a school of fish, anticipating each other's actions, striking with precision that seemed choreographed but was actually pure intuition, enhanced by quantum consciousness. "Madam President," Dr. Ryu said carefully, "we need to discuss the elephant in the room. We now possess technology that can destabilize star systems, rearrange matter at the atomic level, and manipulate the basic forces of physics. The question is, what do we do with this power?" Before President Im could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the bunker. Lieutenant Park Mina rushed to her console. "Ma'am, we're receiving priority transmissions from across the system. The aliens are attempting something massive." The main display switched to show space around the sun itself. Hundreds of alien ships were moving into formation around Earth's star, trailing enormous machines behind them. "What are they doing?" President Im demanded. Dr. Ryu paled as he analyzed the readings. "They're trying to collapse the sun. If they succeed, it will destroy the entire solar system." "Can they do that?" Admiral Baek asked. "With enough stellar manipulation technology, yes," Dr. Ryu replied. "They're desperate. This is their final solution. If they can't contain us, they'll destroy us along with our entire star system." President Im felt the weight of leadership pressing down on her. Billions of human lives hung in the balance, along with the future of human civilization itself. "Can we stop them?" "Yes," Dr. Ryu said quietly. "But it will require using Project Phoenix on a scale that will prove to the galaxy that we've transcended normal physical limitations. There will be no hiding what we've become after this." On the screens, The alien stellar manipulation devices were moving closer to the sun. Energy readings showed massive gravitational distortions beginning to form. The aliens were actually trying to murder an entire star. How long do we have? President Im asked. 6 hours before the collapse becomes irreversible, Dr. Ryu calculated. President Im looked around the room at humanity's finest leaders. Enhanced humans who could think at superhuman speeds, scientists who had unlocked the secrets of reality itself, military commanders who had never lost a battle against supposedly superior alien forces. General O, what's the status of our resistance forces outside the system? O's image sharpened on the screen. Ma'am, we've received word that several minor alien species are ready to openly support us. They're tired of Senate oppression and see humanity as proof that change is possible. Admiral Bayek, can the Stellar Navy handle whatever the aliens throw at us after we save the sun? Ma'am, at this point, I'm not sure there's anything in this galaxy that can challenge a fully enhanced human fleet. Beck replied with confidence that would have seemed like arrogance from any baseline human. President Im made her decision. Dr. Ryu, implement Project Phoenix. Save our star. Show the galaxy what humanity can do when we stop holding back. Dr. Ryu nodded and activated his quantum communication system. Across the solar system, hidden laboratories and secret installations received the activation codes for humanity's most advanced technology. What followed was impossible to describe in normal terms. Human technology reached out to the sun itself, not with machines but with directed will made manifest through quantum manipulation. The stellar collapse that should have destroyed the solar system was not just stopped, it was reversed. More than that, humanity stabilized the sun in ways that would keep it burning steadily for billions of years longer than natural physics would allow. The alien devices trying to murder the star were absorbed and converted into a defensive network that would protect the system from any future attack. Dear God, whispered Lieutenant Park Mina, watching the readings. We're not just manipulating matter and energy anymore. We're editing the fundamental constants of physics itself. The alien fleet that had been attempting to destroy the sun simply stopped functioning. Their ships drifted helplessly as human technology demonstrated mastery over forces the aliens had thought were beyond the reach of any species. Madam President, Admiral Beck reported, we're receiving surrender requests from most of the blockade fleet. The remaining ships are fleeing the system. What about the Galactic Senate? President Im asked. General O answered from Mars. They're demanding immediate negotiations. Apparently, word of what we just did has reached every major power in the galaxy. President Im studied the tactical displays showing the solar system. The alien blockade was collapsing. Human ships were emerging from hidden bases throughout the system, no longer concealing their capabilities. And beyond the edge of the system, she could see the beginning of something new. Alien ships flying human-designed quantum drives, coming to offer alliance rather than conquest. Dr. Ryu, she said, prepare a message for broadcast to the entire galaxy. What should it say? He asked. President Im thought about the vote 3 years ago, when 823 species had condemned humanity to extinction. She thought about the siege, the attempts to steal human technology, the biological weapons, and finally the attempt to murder humanity's entire star. Tell them, she said, that the quarantine is over. Humanity is returning to the galaxy, and this time we're coming back as equals, not supplicants. On the screens around her, she could see human ships beginning to move toward the edge of the solar system. Ships crewed by stellars, armed with reality manipulation technology, carrying the hopes and dreams of a species that had been pushed to the edge of extinction and had emerged stronger than anyone thought possible. The galaxy had tried to contain humanity. Instead, they had forged humanity into something transcendent. Now it was time to show the universe what that meant. Transcendent Lee Daeho no longer needed a physical body to exist, but he chose to maintain one out of courtesy for the beings he was about to address. He stood in the same chamber where humanity had been condemned 3 years ago, but now everything was different. The Galactic Senate was in chaos. Half the delegates were missing, having fled when reports reached them of what humanity had become. The other half sat in stunned silence, watching as the human who had once begged for mercy now commanded forces beyond their comprehension. Honored delegates, Daeho said, his voice carrying easily through the vast chamber without any technological assistance. I have returned to discuss the future of galactic civilization. High Chancellor Vorthak, the mantis-like being who had pronounced humanity's death sentence, trembled visibly. What do you want? Deho smiled gently. The same thing we wanted 3 years ago. Peace, cooperation, a chance for all species to grow and prosper, together. But the Chancellor gestured helplessly at displays showing impossible images from across the galaxy. Human ships that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, planets being terraformed by pure thought, stars being moved to create better solar systems for alien species. We've evolved, Deho said simply, as you forced us to do. In the galleries above, the collective of Dr. Kim Nari manifested as a shimmering presence that existed in several places at once. She had become something like a distributed consciousness, able to be anywhere in the galaxy instantly while maintaining her essential humanity. We want you to understand something important, the collective said, her voice harmonizing with itself across multiple dimensional frequencies. Everything we have become, we became in response to your choices. On the main display, images appeared showing the progression of human development during the siege. Normal humans becoming enhanced. Enhanced humans becoming stellars. Stellars learning to transcend physical limitations entirely. You gave us 3 years of pressure, isolation, and constant threat, Deho continued. You stole our technology, attacked our people, and finally tried to murder our entire star system. Each escalation forced us to develop capabilities we never would have needed in a peaceful galaxy. A delegate from the Crystal Collective, one of the species that had voted for humanity's destruction, pulsed with nervous light. Are you here for revenge? No, said High Admiral Park Minsu, materializing beside Deho. Unlike the Transcendence, he maintained a mostly physical form, though his enhanced human capabilities were obvious to everyone present. We're here to prevent future tragedies. The display changed to show current galactic political situation. Dozens of minor species were in open revolt against Senate authority. Trade networks were collapsing as species refused to acknowledge Senate jurisdiction. The old order was crumbling. Your vote against humanity revealed something that many species had suspected but never dared to voice, Park explained. The Galactic Senate doesn't exist to maintain peace. It exists to maintain the power of a few dominant civilizations over everyone else. That's not true, protested a delegate from the hegemony, though his voice lacked conviction. Isn't it? Deho asked. How many promising young species have you contained or destroyed over the millennia? How many innovations have you suppressed because they threatened established power structures? How many times have you used galactic stability as an excuse for oppression? The chamber fell silent. Several delegates were looking at each other with what appeared to be guilt or shame. The collective of Dr. Kim Nari spoke again. We have spent the last year healing damage across the galaxy. Plague worlds that had suffered for centuries. Resource-depleted systems that had been strip-mined by the major powers. Species that had been deliberately kept at primitive technological levels. And what we found, Deho continued, was a galaxy full of potential that had been deliberately constrained. Brilliant species forced to remain primitive. Innovative technologies banned or suppressed. Entire civilizations living in fear of stepping out of line. What do you propose? Asked the Chancellor, his voice barely a whisper. A new compact, Park said. Not a Senate where the powerful rule over the weak, but a true galactic community where every species has the opportunity to grow and contribute according to their abilities. And if we refuse? Asked the snake-like delegate who had been so hostile to humanity 3 years ago. Deho looked at the delegate with something that might have been pity. Then you become irrelevant. The old system is already collapsing. Hundreds of species are joining the new community every day. You can either be part of building something better, or you can cling to a structure that no longer has any meaning. To demonstrate his point, Deho gestured toward the chamber's windows. Outside, the space around Nexus Prime was filled with ships from dozens of species. But these weren't the massive dreadnoughts that had once enforced Senate will. They were smaller vessels, many showing hybrid technologies that combined alien engineering with human innovation. We're not here to conquer, the collective explained. We're here to offer partnership. Human technology shared freely with any species willing to use it for peaceful development. Enhanced humans working alongside alien scientists to solve problems that have plagued the galaxy for millennia. Transcendent beings like myself and Deho serving as bridges between species that could never communicate before. But there will be rules, Park added. his voice carrying the authority of someone who had never lost a battle. No more suppression of developing species. No more hoarding of resources or technology. No more using force to maintain political control. And if a species violates these rules? The Chancellor asked. Deho's expression remained peaceful, but for a moment the assembled delegates saw something that made them understand exactly what humanity had become. Reality itself seemed to bend slightly around him, as if the laws of physics were merely suggestions in his presence. Then they discover that what humanity can give, humanity can also take away, he said quietly. The threat was delivered without anger or malice, but everyone in the chamber understood its implications. Humanity now possessed the power to alter the fundamental forces of reality. They could move stars, reshape matter, and exist beyond normal physical limitations. Any species that chose to remain hostile would find itself facing opponents who operated by rules that no longer applied to them. We prefer cooperation, the collective added gently, but we will not allow oppression to continue. Too many species have suffered for too long under the old system. Over the following days, the transformation was remarkable. One by one, the major powers of the galaxy began accepting the new reality. The hegemony disbanded its enforcement fleets and opened its technology archives to smaller species. The Dominion began converting its military infrastructure to peaceful development projects. Even the Crystal Collective, which had seemed utterly rigid in its thinking, began experimenting with human concepts of rapid innovation. Some species resisted. A few tried to fight the new order with conventional military force. These conflicts ended quickly and decisively. Human ships would simply appear in the hostile system, existing in states that made them impossible to target or damage. The enemy fleets would find their weapons mysteriously failing, their ship systems shutting down, their crews unharmed but completely helpless. The message was always the same: join the galactic community peacefully, or be excluded from it entirely. Most chose to join. Within a year, the galaxy was transformed. Trade flowed freely between species that had never been allowed to interact before. Technologies developed in isolation for millennia were shared and improved through collaboration. Diseases that had plagued entire civilizations for centuries were cured by human-alien medical teams working together. The final scene took place on a world that had once been a prison colony for species that had displeased the old Senate. Now it was a university where children from hundreds of different worlds learned together. Deho, maintaining his physical form for the sake of the young students, watched as human children played with alien classmates. They were learning mathematics that treated multiple dimensions as playground equipment, biology that included species who existed as living energy, and philosophy that considered consciousness from perspectives no single species had ever imagined. "Are you satisfied with what we've accomplished?" asked Park Min-soo, joining Deho in the observation gallery. Satisfied? Deho considered the question. Below them, a human child was showing an alien friend how to manipulate gravity to create floating art sculptures. "I think we've built something worthy of what we went through to get here. The galaxy is finally free to grow," the collective of Dr. Kim Nari added, her presence manifesting as a warm glow that made the children below look up and wave. "Every species can develop according to their nature, contribute their unique gifts, and learn from each other without fear." Park nodded. The old Senate tried to keep everyone trapped in rigid roles. Now there are no limits except what each species chooses for itself. "And if someone tries to restore the old oppressive system?" Deho asked. "Then they'll discover that humanity remembers what it's like to be helpless," Park replied. "We'll never let that happen to anyone else." The irony was perfect.